Hey guys, this is James from TeaDB bringing you InBetweenIsode number 68. So today we're doing something a little bit different this week. So we are drinking some of the infamous old tree Pu'erh from Verdant tea. So these teas were recently a part of a controversy. Those that actually want to read up about it, I'm not going to talk too much about it, should read up on Steepster or Reddit. There's a bunch of threads that got really, really long and blew up about these teas. So someone offered to sponsor me to taste these teas and bring them on to an in-between-isode. So special thanks to Tea Illuminati over at Steepster, as well as Liquid Proust for making this happen. Liquid Proust is running the Shung Special Olympics, or Shung Olympics, I should say. Shung Olympics, that's right. Not Special Olympics. So these are basically tastings where he broke up a bunch of cakes and sent them out to a lot of people. Pretty cool. Check it out, too. And so Tea Illuminati offered to sponsor me for this thing, just to bring on some of the teas that were featured, which included 3 Verdant teas, one from supposedly 300-year-old trees, one from 1,000-year-old trees, and one from 1,800-year-old trees. So, I haven't been drinking a lot of young Pu'erh, so usually the way to really get a proper benchmark onto these teas is to compare it with a tea that you know pretty well. So I am bringing on the humble little walk from White to Tea, which sells for about $20 for 200 grams. A really nice little daily drinker. You really can't complain much for the price. So that's in this guy one on my left side. And we will heat this guy as well. So we're going to start with our comparison with the 300-year-old trees from Verdant. It also has fairly loose compression. The leaves feel a little bit drier. It also has a pretty nice aroma. They both have sort of your nice, sweet, young tea aroma. And a rinse for a 300-year-old Verdant. And I'm just going to call them 300-year-old Verdant. I don't make claim to know one way or the other how old these are, although I have my suspicions. And we are going to get going. So here we go with the little walk. So nice clarity, really light liqueur, sort of getting some sugar cane in the aroma, very appealing aroma, very sweet. So similar color to there from the Verdant tea. Perhaps a little bit more floral from the Verdant aroma. Fairly similar. And these teas actually do sell for fairly similar prices. The Verdant tea, I think, is a 100-gram cake, and it's sold for about $10 per cake. So not really prices that you associate with very, very old Pu'erh. Cheers, guys. So sweet, pretty nice body. I think this tea is improved as it sort of mellowed out. When I first got it, I did enjoy it for the price. I thought it was very, kind of hay, barnyardy. A lot of that's cleared up, and it's more of like a very sweet, easy to drink daily drinker. decent body. And yeah, so let's compare it to the Verdant tea. Cheers. So the Verdant tea is immediately higher tasting. The body is thinner in general. Definitely not close to the viscosity of the Little Walk. It's sweet. It's fairly inoffensive, I'd say. It's not bad. It doesn't taste terrible. It doesn't taste like anything special so far. So let's give this another steep for both of these guys. And those that are wondering about water temperature, the water was boiled immediately before hitting the play button. So it's probably due for a reboil after these steeps, but we'll see how these go. Little Walk's aroma continues to be very nice. Definitely more floral notes coming into the 300-year-old Verdant tea. In fact, it tastes much like a northern tea, which it supposedly is, so that all makes sense. Cheers. So probably a little bit even thicker than the initial steep. Continues to be a fairly decent tea with body. Wait for that to cool down for a hot second. So this has changed. This has become a lot more floral. This steep is starting to rub me the wrong way in some sense. A little bit of like tangy sourness to it. It's a little bit thicker, but other than that, the taste is pretty poor for that steep. Just kind of like, I don't know, like a lot of just like empty floralness. A lot of most of all of the effect on the mouth is very much at like the front. There's no real depth to it. The Little Walk doesn't have like a ton of depth either, but it tastes like a proper Pu'erh in the sense that you have body. You can taste it in most of your mouth. So I'm going to move on to the next couple teas. So we are back and we are adding another third Gaiwan to the list, and so our 1,000-year-old trees. So we will probably go back and revisit at least, probably both these teas at least for another steep or so. But while these other two are fresh in the memory, here we go for Mr. 1,000-year-old trees. So very similar to the 300-year-old one, fairly aromatic, doesn't smell bad. Sort of like that soft, sweet aroma. The leaves look very dry. The breaking up was not especially clean, but you know, that's okay. Almost an identical aroma to the other Verdant tea. So similarly, it's brewing up. It's a little bit cloudy in there, but it's not too bad. And we're gonna just go ahead and catch this guy up. Give it 2 steeps right here. So I would expect, similar to both the other teas, I would expect the first steep to kind of be a warming up, second steep to have more body and more of just like the actual tea's character in it. Cheers, guys. Very thin taste. The first steep is, I feel like, is actually worse than the other Verdant tea's first steep. Alright, we'll move on to steep number 2 here. And I'm going to go ahead and give the Little Walk another steep so we can compare it versus this. And of course you guys know that this sort of comparison is kind of just going back and forth between teas. It's far from perfect, but we'll see what we can get. So you can see in comparison, the Little Walk is brewing up more of a yellow liqueur in comparison, and we'll have to compare it versus the third steep over here. Little Walk has a little bit deeper, more earthy tones to the aroma. Overall, this tea has thickened up. It's a little bit denser. It's got some body now, but it's not very sweet. And it's still very focused on sort of the front of the mouth. There's not really much depth to it. It's a little bit sweeter, actually. So, Little Walk. Wait for that to cool down for just a hot second. So Little Walk, in comparison, moving back to it, is lower, earthier, more body, more depth to it. This tea, I don't think it sold for a terribly high amount either. I think it was something like $22 for a 100-gram cake or something like that. So it's about twice the price of the Little Walk. More sweetness, just generally more enjoyable. Sort of veering more towards that Hey Barnyard-y-ness in that steep. And I'm going to go ahead and also give this guy is 300-year-old tree Verdant, another steep. So investigating the material, the Little Walk looks the healthiest. It's got sort of like dark, proper, the really good looking leaves considering sort of like the inexpensiveness of the tea. A little bit more chopped up, more pale in the 300-year-old tea, and I don't know, the 1,000-year-old tree really doesn't look all that much different from the 300-year-old material. It's fairly weak looking, honestly. The stems are not like these big, thick, robust stems. Not that that's like the end-all, be-all of tea, but I would say that the Little Walk material is generally better looking than both of these. So here's the Little Walk, steep number 3, or here is the 1,000-year-old tree, steep number 3. So now it's getting some of those off notes that the other one was getting, a little bit of sour funkiness to it. It's got body, but it's just not... The taste of it is just very unappealing, especially after going from the Little Walk back to this. So, we went through 3 steeps of this. It's not really showing that it's anything close to the Little Walk, so I think that's enough for that. So here is steep number 3 for the 300-year-old trees. It's a little bit sweeter. It's also fairly dense. In fact, I may actually prefer the 300-year-old trees to the 1,000-year-old trees. It's still pretty thin. I would say the Little Walk is definitely the better tea than both of these so far. And yeah, and we will be right back with the last tea. Alright guys, we are back with part 3 of what is turning out to be a very long in-between-isode. So now I have, unfortunately, the bing hole of the 1,800-year-old trees, quotation marks. So this is probably the most aromatic of the 3 teas from Verdant. Give this a quick rinse. I'm going to let that go for just a second longer just because this one is a little bit more tightly compressed. And so pretty similar color to the rest. And this is the Little Walk steep number 4 here. While that cools down, we're going to give it another steep as well. Alright, cheers guys. So this is maybe the most different of them. The mouthfeel is significantly different. I'm not going to say it's better yet. Sort of has a cool, nutty taste to it. It's more similar to the Little Walk in the sense that it doesn't just focus on the very front of the mouth. Yeah, actually I'm going to drink steep number 2 of this. Give this another one. A little bit more tingling in the mouth as well. I would not say that the tea has floored me or anything close to that, but it does show a little bit more promise than the other 2. So a little bit more dynamic of an aroma, floral, sweeter, a little bit more foresty and deeper, I would say, than the other two Verdant teas. Sweeter, generally more appealing. This is definitely a better tea than the other two teas from Verdant. This sold for, I think, around $50 for a 100-gram Bing. So it's a lot more expensive than the Little Walk at this point. It's about 5 times the price because the Little Walk sells for $20 for 200 grams. But we'll keep going. We'll see. Yeah, sweeter, more dynamic. So here's steep number 4 of the Little Walk. Little Walk continues to have more body than the tea. A little bit more astringency to it. Just more strength. It's not fair to compare steep number 4 of the Little Walk to steep number 2 of the 1800-year-old tree, but I still prefer the Little Walk. And I'm going to heat this up again and go for another couple. Cheers, guys. Still thinner. The Little Walk does a good job of just putting these teas in their place. I thought this tea was going somewhere, and then I tasted the Little Walk, and then I come back to this, and you can tell that just the tea is a lot thinner and just not as good. There's a little bit of like nutty sweetness to it that's kind of nice, but I think you would do just as well going for like one of the cheaper northern Bings from Yunnan Sourcing. I'm a particular fan of their Jingus, which sell for a much lower price than that tea does. So we're going to do one more on the Little Walk and at least one more on the 1800-year-old tree, just to be sure of our conclusions that these teas are not worth the money. So at this point, the 1800-year-old tree, despite being the Bing hole, has successfully taken over the Gaiwan. So it's brewing more of a healthy yellow now at this point, rather than being super pale like the other ones. The teas in general are not nearly as dark as Little Walk. They're closer in color to the other two. And we'll dump these. So it's not really fair to compare the leaf quality from what I see, just because I'm getting a lot of broken leaves because we got the Bing hole there, which is a little bit unfortunate, but we'll make do. So right now, like if I were to judge the teas collectively, I have a lot of taste remaining in my mouth. It's very familiar. I think a lot of it's caused by the Little Walk. There's not a ton of throatiness or anything like that going on with any of these teas. So there's none of sort of like those sorts of effects that you tend to look out for in really premium teas. So no surprise to me that none of these teas are super premium, which includes the 1800-year-old tree. Little Walk has continued to increase in body. This might be the infusion with the most sort of bitter bite to it. a lot of ku'erh, which is like the good bitterness. But also tasting like a proper pu'erh for the most part, with body, a lot of those, heavier earth tones to it as well. Steep number 4 of the 1800-year-old tree. So less sweet, more bite to it, not smooth. There's a little bit more dynamicism than the other two Verdant teas, but I'm gonna have to just say that none of them are remotely good teas for the price. So take from that what you will. This is my first tasting of these teas, so I didn't lead up to it like I normally do. So I was forming my impressions on the camera. They're not terrible. I would not call them good either, and I think you can do a lot better for your money in terms of Pu'erh. So I would recommend for anyone interested in those teas to just save the money and buy a Little Walk from W2T, which is a great little daily drinking young raw Pu'erh for the money. So thank you guys for tuning in, and cheers.